Hello, and welcome to One for the Books.
Hello, and welcome to One for the Books.
Hello, and welcome to One for the Books.
Literacy to me is power.
It's access. It's an open door.
Being able to think for yourself.
Literacy, to me, is opportunity.
My favorite book I read this year is The Great Believers by Rebecca Makkai.
Emergent Strategies by Adrienne Marie Brown.
It's How to Be a Friend by Cicero.
The Hidden Life of Trees.
Lead from the outside.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for joining us.
Good evening, and welcome everyone to One for the Books 2021. My name is Ken Bigger, and I'm the Executive Director of the Chicago Literacy Alliance. Tonight's event is the culmination of 2 weeks of programming celebrating literacy, and we're excited to hear from some leading voices for literacy in Chicago, who will be sharing their perspectives with us tonight. While we had hoped to be able to gather in person this year, we're honored to have all of you joining us virtually, from wherever you may be, to celebrate books and literacy, and to take action to advance literacy for all the communities we serve. The Chicago Literacy Alliance is a collective of more than 100 organizations helping to meet literacy needs for people of all ages and all backgrounds. We bring together literacy organizations to build capacity, align services, and advocate for learners of all ages in all communities. Our mission is to improve literacy in Chicago by driving collaboration and increasing the impact of our community's literacy organizations. We envision a 100% literate Chicago where the transformative power of literacy is accessible to all. Now, as with the rest of the world, a lot has changed for the CLA since we last gathered for One for the Books. Most of us have been working from home, challenging ourselves to think creatively about how to continue supporting our members in serving their constituents. The events of the last year have pushed us to have and to host difficult but tremendously important conversations within our community. Conversations that help us reflect on our purpose and our mission, and help keep equity at the very core of everything we do. Chicago is made up of diverse neighborhoods, and each one is vital to the character and to the future of our city. In December, we introduced our Equity Through Literacy framework, the underlying blueprint for new initiatives toward this vision of a 100% literate Chicago. We started by reimagining our flagship program, the Confab, by focusing on neighborhoods facing barriers to literacy access in order to learn more about their past and present and identify opportunities for collaboration. We're building on those conversations with action groups that dive deeper to address identified needs through a collaborative, community-centered process. We renewed our commitment to providing our 100+ member organizations with programming and professional learning that focuses on equity and anti-racism while building communities of practice around our work in the literacy sector. The CLA also unveiled our Literacy Equity Initiative Dashboard, which we're calling LEI Insights. Powered by Innovare, this dashboard provides insights into our community's literacy assets and gaps, CLA member services, and other literacy indicators. It's the tool we and our members need for more effectively making decisions about our work, about future collaborations, and about the deployment of resources. As many of you know, Alliance members work in all 77 Chicago community areas, providing tutoring, adult education, English as a second language instruction, book distribution, creative arts programming, and many other services. We connect our organizations to facilitate collaborative relationships and ultimately drive real and meaningful change. Now, of course, the last year has presented many challenges to the way we deliver our services. But our members haven't stopped, and neither have we. It's more important now than ever that we continue to advance literacy in Chicago. We're staying busy delivering literacy, empowerment, and change, and we can't do it without you. Tonight, we honor those committed to advancing literacy in our communities. Whether you're reading a news article, filling out a job application, or writing your own story, literacy flourishes in so many ways and in so many places. Now, I'd like to take a moment to thank our event sponsors for everything they do to support our mission and the missions of our member organizations. Thank you to BMO Harris Bank, Bruce Dotton, Arjun Dutt, Ravin and Maureen Jesuthasan, KPMG, Insperity, Stone Turn Group, and all of our other sponsors. We couldn't do this without you. And now, We're thrilled to present the 2021 Leader in Literacy Award to KPMG for their commitment to increasing access to books through their flagship community program, KPMG's Family for Literacy. KPMG's efforts focus on lifelong learning, which they believe is essential to unlocking the potential in people, building economies, and above all, in improving lives. KPMG believes literacy is at the foundation of lifelong learning, and access to books is necessary to build strong reading skills and habits. Since its inception in 2008, KPMG's Family for Literacy program has distributed over 5 million new books to low-income children in over 100 communities across the United States. This year, KPMG is celebrating 1 million books donated to Chicago's young readers who deserve equitable access to high-quality, relevant books. Please join me in welcoming KPMG's Bruce Dotton, a CLA board member, to our virtual stage. Welcome, Bruce.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Bruce Dotton, Manager of Data and Analytics at KPMG and board member here at CLA. I'm thrilled to be accepting the 2021 Leader in Literacy Award on behalf of KPMG. At KPMG, we're committed to education and lifelong learning as they are central to building strong communities and economies. KPMG's Family for Literacy, the firm's flagship community impact program, has a goal of turning readers into leaders. This program, which started over a decade ago, includes not only partners and employees, but also welcomes participation from KPMG families, retirees and alumni, our clients, and all those committed to education in the broader community. Our dedicated volunteer base makes a lasting impact in the lives of students, getting new books into the hands of children in need and helping educators and schools reach them more effectively. We are grateful for this recognition and proud to be supporters of the Chicago Literacy Alliance. Thank you.
Bruce, thank you so much to you and your colleagues for your commitment to increasing literacy across Chicago and the United States. You are truly leaders in literacy. And now we're delighted to present the 2021 Champion of Literacy Award to Nora Brooks Blakely for her efforts to create ongoing cultural conversations to ensure a thriving, diverse, and more literate community throughout Chicago. Nora is a former educator and founded Chocolate Chips Theater Company, working as its primary playwright from 1982 to 2011. She is the president of Brooks Permissions, founded in 2001 to license and promote the work of her mother, Gwendolyn Brooks. In 2020, the governor's office appointed her as the chair of the new Illinois Poet Laureate Search. Nora, I'm certain if we were all together this evening, there would be a huge round of applause now as we invite you to say a few words.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I can't tell you how much this award means to me. It inspires me to keep enthusiastically encouraging myself and others to build on existing skills and share ideas, particularly with young people. In fact, I'm so excited, I want to do that right now. Here are my action words. Encourage. Get young people to write. Teens, tweens, and toddlers. And how do you get toddlers to write? I'm glad you asked that question. Interact. Offer to be their recording machines and write or type what they dictate. Display. Put your favorite quotes from your young people up in big print, in the house, in the school, in the church, in the gym. Collaborate with young artists to create beautiful, eye-catching, and inspirational posters. Make people prove it. When someone says something to you that sounds more like opinion than the fact, don't be afraid to ask for more details or sources. Create. Educators, parents, use actual celebrity interviews, help-wanted ads, recipes, instructions, and add your own comprehension questions for real-world reading exercises. Explore. Virtually if you have to, in the real world when you can. If you live in the country, come visit the city. Based in the city, go visit the country. How big is a cow anyway? Change. turn to a television channel, or peek in a book focusing on cultures different from yours. In a poem about a little boy who wants to experience everything, Gwendolyn Brooks says, "Not that success for him is sure, infallible, but never has he been afraid to reach. His lesions are legion, but reaching is his rule. My final action words: live, learn, expand." Thank you.
You're such an inspiration, Nora, and I'm excited to hear more from you in our next segment, in conversation with Illinois Poet Laureate Angela Jackson. Ms. Jackson is the author of numerous poetry collections, including the Carl Sandburg Award-winning Dark Legs and Silk Kisses, The Beatitudes of the Spinners. She's a past winner of the Pushcart Prize and the Poetry Society of America's Shelley Memorial Award, among other honors. A playwright and a novelist, she has won 2 American Book Awards. With these 2 distinguished guests, I am pleased to venture into a conversation about the shared work of how we connect the C in literacy with the R in literary. That is, how literary work drives stronger, more diverse cultures of literacy, particularly for new generations. Nora, Angela, welcome to the conversation this evening, and thank you for joining us.
Hi, thank you.
Thank you.
It's great to have you both here. And to get us started, I'd like to ask a question that we often ask at the start of many CLA team meetings and CLA events as well. It's a bit of an icebreaker, but one I think you'll understand where it's coming from. Nora, what are you reading these days?
Several things simultaneously. I've been reading N.K. Jemisin, an outstanding Black female speculative fiction writer, who many of her comments in her books speak to what's happening in the world now. So she's fascinating, and I've been reading that. I'm also doing self-improvement. So I'm reading a book called Miracle Morning for Writers. And it's about structuring and formatting your day, your life, so that you are a more productive writer. And I'm also probably reading far too much general science fiction for someone who's trying to add more informative books to the mix. So,
well, they say that we don't find our books find us. So yeah. Take guidance there. Angela, what are you reading these days?
I just finished reading Renditions by Reginald Gibbons, and I'm in the middle of Taught by Women by Haki Matsubuti in the poetry anthology, the prison anthology from Poetry Magazine. I'm in the middle of those 2 things.
Part of our ambition for today's conversation was to explore how we might inspire new generations to share their voices. And so in that light, I'd really be interested in hearing from you about the Graphic Gwendolyn project that I mentioned in the introduction. Could you tell us more about that project and what your goals were for it?
Mm-hmm. We're always interested in finding and expanding our audiences. And so we wanted to find something that might attract the casual reader, somebody who might never think about picking up an entire book of poetry. And so we went for something smaller. Comic books. So the first one that we did is Song in the Front Yard. Lots of colorful panels. It's set up strictly as a piece that is the standard comic book. And it's just one poem that was turned into this comic book. And we just got the new one out hot off the presses, and it's called Two Boys. It's a little thicker, has 2 poems in it, one about a very young boy, innocent, eager, and the other, a sad tale called The Boy Died in My Alley, a poem about a narrator who is perturbed by not only the death in the alley, but their lack of involvement in what could have kept this from happening. So Both have points to ponder, so you can get conversations and writing assignments going. So those are some of the kinds of things that we're trying to do to pull in people that otherwise might not be that committed to reading in general or poetry in specific.
So that issue of accessibility, not only for readers, but for new writers, I think, was also a real passion of your mother's, Nora. And she created a piece called A Young Poet's Primer. Angela, I'd like to turn to you. And first of all, again, congratulations on your appointment as the Poet Laureate of Illinois. I'm interested, if you also made use of this Young Poet's Primer at some point, and what sort of insights you see there informing your own work.
I sure did. And the thing that struck me the most was, there were two things: the need to be fresh, to make fresh observations and make the language fresh. And those two things stuck with me. And in order to try to find my way as a young poet to make something new.
My mother was definitely a firm believer in the necessity of feeding the source of your creativity in broad and diverse ways. And you can't do that without building your various literacies. And when we talk about literacies, I think it's really important to talk about all the different things that fold into literacies. And one piece from my mother's book, her writing tips, said, feel free to talk on your paper about anything, not just flowers and trees and springtime. Write about what you see on television and your honest response to it. Write about what you see in the street, what you see in the newspapers. Write about church, basketball and football, swimming, picnics, discos, horses, ants, rock music, hymns, the kitchen stove, coffee, tea, war, pancakes, milkshakes, Zimbabwe, love and hate, marbles, kites, blood, grape jelly, riots. About all or any of these subjects, write what you really think and feel, what you think, what you feel.
That's just great. It reminds me, Nora, of Sandra Cisneros' reflection on bumping into your mother at the grocery store and just being stunned that there was this extraordinary person doing this ordinary thing. And I think that, that finding of the extraordinary within the ordinary, I think is a big part of, I think, both her project and a big part of what writing is all about. I'm interested now in asking you a question about where you see yourself as an advocate in terms of advancing a literate culture in Chicago, and what you see as the biggest challenges and what do you see as the biggest opportunities?
Well, as far as where I see myself, I want to continue my yapping. I want to keep fussing and exhorting at every opportunity, in every venue, in every form, about the necessity of encouraging children and teens to read, write, research, explore, and I want to work with the rest of the Books Permissions team. Hi, Cynthia. Hi, Pam. Hi, Darius. To continue to develop new and interesting attractions to literacy. The challenges, I think the biggest challenge is to rise above the noise. I mean, there's so much digital madness, people yelling fictions they expect you to believe. People are desperate to be liked on social media, no matter what they have to do to get people to like them. And I think, don't get me wrong, I think social media is, very important and there are many benefits to it. But I just think that, moderation in everything. And it's interesting because the opportunities start with the flip side of the social media point, that there are now countless ways to connect to other people who are interested in writing, to reach out to people who are just curious and might not otherwise have gotten involved in in writing professionally or just as a hobby or an occasional thing. I think that with organizations like CLA in the world, that I've got hope that these naysayers will become dim and vanishing ghosts, replaced by vivid participants in the world.
Awesome. Well, we're certainly behind that, and we thank you for your endorsement of us. We're certainly big fans of yours as well.
And it wasn't looked for.
Angela, you mentioned to me the other day when we were preparing for this conversation that you had some personal experience with the work that Nora has done to cultivate new voices. And I'm just wondering if you wanted
Absolutely. I did want to share that.
Share a story.
Because even before Nora worked with Chocolate Chips, she had founded a group called Anchor. And on Saturdays, I used to take my nephew, Marcus, to Anchor. And I could see him now walking into that big space and greeting his friends. And I know how that impacted on his life and enhanced his sense of curiosity and wonder. He didn't necessarily become a great writer or even the most avid reader, but it did enhance his imagination and gave him a sense of ownership in the world, because now he is a working scientist and travels the world.
Thank you for sharing that story. I think it's helpful to have such powerful examples, and we know that he is one among many that Nora has touched with her work. And
yes,
also,
absolutely, she sure has.
And we know that you are doing similar work in your role as a poet and as poet laureate. I know I started us out with one of our kind of typical Chicago Literacy Alliance questions, and I'm hoping that we can wrap up our time in conversation with just a quick question or two related to the work that we're all doing together about improving literacy. And would just be interested, we'll give Nora the last word. So Angela, I'll ask you first. What does 100% literate Chicago mean to you?
100% literacy means that people are open to new ideas, means that people are in a listening mode and critical thinkers, means that people are willing to read, if not reading all the time, that they do read sometimes and learn. Mm-hmm. That they listen, not just with their heads, but also their hearts.
Lovely. And Nora, what does 100% literate Chicago mean to you?
For me, it's a culture of accepted expectations. In 100% literate Chicago, I want to see a city of those kinds of expectations, not dead-ending yourself, but this is the least that I expect that I will be able to do. Communities where where everyone is expected to read and write at certain levels, or to find the support to make that possible, for them to do that. People who revere history and use it to move forward through the now and on into the soon to be, and just to expect nothing less. And this is, I won't get on my soapbox, but nothing less than truth from leaders and media and merchants and other word workers, because they understand that in this literate Chicago, if that's not forthcoming, that we as Chicagoans have the skills to ferret out the difference between truth and fiction.
So much there, and many more places to go. We're at the end of our time, and I want to thank Angela Jackson, Poet Laureate of Illinois, and Nora Brooks Blakely, who is the CLA's 2021 winner of our Champion of Literacy Award. Thank you so much for joining us this evening and for all of your contributions to a more literate Chicago, a more literate state, and a more literate world.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was such an incredible conversation. Now, as we near the end of our event, let's turn it back to Bruce to learn more about the impact that your gifts to the Chicago Literacy Alliance make possible.
I was initially connected to the CLA because of their goal of decreasing literacy barriers. I'm proud to support their vision of 100% literate Chicago. There's a lot of momentum here at the CLA to keep pushing literacy forward. Our goal tonight is to raise $85,000. On behalf of the Board of Directors, I thank you for your generosity as we push to reach that ambitious goal. The silent auction closes at 9 p.m., and there's still time to make an outright donation. We're so glad you were able to join us for this year's One for the Books. Thank you for coming, and thank you for your support of the CLA. Turn it back to Ken for a final farewell.
Thank you so much, Bruce, and thank you to everyone who was able to join us tonight for One for the Books. Congratulations again to our fantastic 2021 award winners, Nora Brooks Blakely and KPMG. We cannot wait to watch your impact grow. For everyone in the audience tonight, if you're wondering who's helping us reach our vision of a 100% literate Chicago, you are. We would not be where we are without your help, and we still have great steps to take. Thank you for joining us, and have a great night.
Thanks for supporting the CLA.
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 Thank you for supporting the CLA.
Thanks for supporting the CLA.
Thanks for joining us.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.